Black-owned car dealerships have been hit hard by the recession. I'll be talking to the owner of a large Black-owned auto mall in Brooklyn and the challenges she faces. Also in this program, why would someone want to become a civil court judge? I'll be asking that question to an attorney who's running for such a position in Brooklyn. And Regi Brown will have his feature called Seneca Village. This is Brooklyn 45. Welcome. And welcome to Nadia Bical. Welcome.
Hi, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Your company is just off the road at the other end of Flatbush.
Yes, it is.
How do you feel about being there?
We love it. It's been a dream of my family and I for a long time. It's been in the works for about 12. We had the property back in 2002. We actually started building in 2015, and 2018 we were completed and we moved in, and it's been beautiful. We're the largest dealership in the metropolitan area. We're General Motors. We have Chevy, Buick, GMC, and Cadillac. And we also have pre-owned. We have a body shop, service, all of the bells and whistles. We're very proud to be the largest here in New York City. And we take a lot of pride and we love our customers. We've been in business for 30 years, I'm proud to say. And my family's Caribbean. We're from Guyana.
And yes, Guyanese.
Yes.
You, should I say, inherited this business from your dad?
Yes, my father is an amazing, extraordinary human being who came from Guyana and was a mechanic at a dealership called Bical Auto Mall. And an opportunity arose where he was able to buy in as a partner. And from there, he was able to obtain the entire dealership. And then he built his own dealership, which is now Bical, located by Flatbush Avenue, 2859. And I guess it's safe to say I inherited it. I did go to law school to be an attorney. However, my father decided that originally it was supposed to be my brother only, because I wanted to be an attorney. I had no desire to go into the business. But as time progressed and I saw that he was building, the love of the dealership for me came during the construction process, believe it or not. I became FDNY certified and I ended up helping him build and doing the steel and the negotiations, and because I love law. So it actually ended up integrating everything, and I ended up learning how to build on commercial property on top of that, because there was so much organization that needed to be done with the permits. I kind of fit right into the whole thing. So once the dealership was built, I said I had such a sense of pride with him, and he said, would you ever consider taking over? And I looked at him and I said, yeah, I would. This would be like an honor, because I literally built this with you. And I have to say it's been one of the best decisions of my life, and I love working with him, and it's been such a family business. And we also have Bical Chevrolet, which my brother has out in Valley Stream. So we're very, very lucky.
You know, there are so many people who own businesses and do not prepare their children to take over.
Yeah.
Talk about the importance of that for what, 30 seconds?
Yeah, no problem. My dad was the opposite of that completely. Me, my brother and I we were detailing cars at 8. I was a secretary by 13. And by 19, I was a full-blown accountant for the store. There was no aspect of the dealership that we didn't know. We had to get up at 6:30, go there on our summer job and help the people clean, because it always starts from the bottom. That's what he told us. That's where you learn everything, is starting from the bottom, knowing how to clean a car, and then you can learn how to do everything else. It was everything. So when I first started, I went to sales. I did accounting. I do financing. I did service. Put me in the body shop. He put me in everything. So there was not an aspect of the dealership that I didn't know.
There are very few minority-owned automobile dealerships that are run by women.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
I feel that's been a question I've gotten for quite some time now, and it's been amazing. My father's put me in a position where I do feel very empowered. He guides me a lot, and he tells me what it is. There's no sugarcoating. There's 7 days a week, even on Sundays that we're closed now, we're there. And he teaches me everything that there needs to know. So I'm not nervous, nor do I feel like I'm inferior to anybody. I've been here since I was 8. So there is a lot of confidence that comes with that.
let's talk about the challenges that you have had to overcome
Right.
as a minority-owned business, and particularly now that there's this pandemic all around us.
Being minority owned definitely has put us in a unique space in the automotive industry where it is predominantly Caucasian. We do feel sometimes that we get looked over a little bit, and that's a bit challenging when it comes to the board and stuff. But my father, again, he's president of the marketing of Cadillac, vice president of Chevy. So we do hold a lot of leverage, but we did feel that if he wasn't in these power positions, we're not sure how we would be treated, to be quite honest. And but I would have to say that we have built a good repertoire with our franchise representatives, and we have through them been able to secure a very good relationship. I feel very secure with them since I've been with them since I was a child. I actually know them for quite some time. So that was an interesting space to learn from him, because he faced a lot more difficulty that I saw growing up. I think he really trailblazed the way for me, and I think he fights for me, and I don't think I see it a lot, but I know he definitely tries to not have me feel what he felt. I know he felt a lot of discrimination growing up when I saw it. But I do feel like he's trying to just kind of shield me from it. So I know that it is a little difficult for him than it is for me. So I do appreciate that he takes the bullet for that. When it comes to the pandemic, with everybody else going down, a lot of dealerships went out of business. Unfortunately, we were fortunate enough to stay above. And I would say our biggest problem is getting product. It's just the shipment is not there. COVID has backed us up, and it has been a real demand for car, and it has been very hard getting our hands on products for sure.
I know you mentioned this earlier, but let's talk about the product. What's the product that you sell?
I'm a General Motors store, so I have Chevy, Buick, GMC, and Cadillac. We're a 4 franchise store, which is very unique. Only 4% dealers in the country have all 4 brands under one roof.
I'm told that a lot of minority-owned businesses are struggling because of this know your customer rule. How do you handle that?
We kind of tackle that in a different way. We know our customer. We've been in business for 30 years, so we know our target audience, and we cater to that. We have a store in Brooklyn and we have a store in Valley Stream. Both stores are catered to both customer base very differently, and we handle them differently. For my store at Bical Auto Mall located in Brooklyn, we have a very secure customer base that we have retained. So we truly mean this. When we say you have a pallet by Cal, you have a pallet by Cal. We have customers that come back just to drop off donuts and try to have conversations with us throughout the day. Like, we are very friendly. We try our best, to be honest with you, to get everybody what they need. We understand that there's a pandemic. We try to work with all of the banks. We call up, you don't leave my store unless we've tried every avenue of trying to get you a vehicle for you to be happy in. We really do try.
Talk some more about this pandemic and how you've been able to not only survive, but to be as successful as you are in spite of this pandemic.
I'm very lucky. I would have to say, by the grace of God, we've been successful, but I would have to say also us getting up every day at 5:30 and opening up those doors no matter what. We were an essential business. A lot of dealerships were, but they decided to not open up due to the fact that the service wouldn't be making as much to sustain the dealership. But my father said, we have the largest parts department in New York City. We're a wholesaler, and we have a service, and we're considered essential. So once my father said, oh, we're considered essential, he said, so that means the people needs us. He didn't care. You couldn't tell him nothing. He had to get up, and we had to get up, and we had to serve. We had a civil duty. That's how he kind of said it. We have a civil duty to these people. And a lot of people were very grateful that we were open, because nurses had to get to work, doctors had to get to work, police officers. We were taking in ambulances. We were taking in anything because we truly wanted to help. And I think due to that and wanting people, and honestly, we wanted our employees to have jobs. That was our main thing. We knew not only were customers suffering, so was our own family here at Bical. So we did anything we could to try to keep as much people as employed as possible, so everyone had food on the table, something.
I want you to go back to doing everything that you can to learn the business. You said that you grew up cleaning cars. Talk to us about that experience, because lots of kids don't want to do things like that.
No, and I didn't. No, it's safe to say that at 8 years old or 9, no, I did not want to detail cars. But me and my brother, and we had a couple of cousins, we would get up and we would go, and it was fun, you know. We would get Q-tips, I'm sorry. And we would, you know, wet them with the Windex, and we would, you know, detail because we had little hands. So we had all little tasks to get the cars done. We learned more about the cars in the interior that way. I didn't realize at the time that I was actually learning, you know, what the leather, the cotton, what's the difference, what products work, what products don't. So at 10 years old, I was like a genius at detailing cars. If somebody was talking about it, like my uncle would be like, oh, I cleaned my car today. And I'm like, what did you use? Because I need to know if it's the correct product. So I didn't really like it, but I can see now as an adult how that helped formulate my passion, and how there was this confidence now that's beside me. Even when people say, oh, you're in a male dominant industry, how do you feel? I don't feel anything, because this is my industry. That's how I feel. This is my dealership. I built it. I washed cars. I was a secretary. I don't feel like there's any ins and out of the store that was left with me being blinded. And I think my dad did an excellent job forcing us to do that. He said, there's no way that you're going to just go hang out with your friends. You need to like learn something. Even if it means painting the dealership, you learn something.
We're out of time, but what is the one thing you would say to young people?
Keep it moving. I always tell people this, keep moving. Even if you feel like the world is coming down on you, keep moving, because at least you can say you went from point A to point B no matter what happened. You'll never know until you move. So I just keep moving.
Thank you. I thank you. I'm so proud of you. And we are so proud of you. And when we drive down Flatbush Avenue heading to the Belt, we'll be looking out for your business.
Please do. Stop in. Come in. I'd love to give you a tour.
Thank you, Nadia Bical, the owner of Bical Auto Mall. In a while, I'll be chatting with an attorney who will be telling you why many make the transition to a civil court judge. But let's begin with heading out to Regi Brown and listening to his report titled, interestingly enough, Seneca.
Growing up, my brother and I, we would play in Central Park often. We would imagine the waterfalls, the hills, and the swimming pool and the trees was our backyard. Central Park was and is still a very beautiful place. As many of you may know, having strolled along the lake, sunbathed, picnic, and simply cooled off after a long run around the reservoir track near 86th Street and 90th. But in 1855, this lush landscape was the home of a community called Seneca Village. And it was awesome, with its private homes, churches, schools, and stores. But what may surprise you is that 2/3 of the village, set in the lush green landscape of now Central Park, was called home by Afro-Americans. But as with all things in our Black history, the government acquired the land Seneca Village was built on using eminent domain to take this private property and convert it into public use. The Fifth Amendment provides the government this power if they provide just compensation to the property owners. And now, Seneca Village is a park instead of a thriving, stable investment into property, community, and people of color. My name is Regi Brown, and this has been a Black History Moment on Brooklyn 45 TV.
Thank you, Regi Brown. What does a civil court judge do? Well, I'm not going to tell you, but my next guest will. Casilda Roper, welcome to Brooklyn 45.
Thank you for having me.
And you heard my question already. What does a civil court judge do?
Well, what a civil court does, what a judge is nominated in the New York City They have the jurisdiction over civil cases involving the amount of $25,000 and more. And they handle personal injury type cases, foreclosure cases, cases in family court. And usually they handle all civil matters. Those are the type of cases they handle, Supreme Court matters, and it includes sometimes even small claim matters. And those small claim matters are $5,000 and less, and also housing court matters. And they handle landlord tenant matters, housing court, which is a separate, usually separate in of themselves, and even housing code violation. And each year, over anywhere from $700,000 and less civil court cases are filed in civil court in New York City. And 120 civil court judges are elected to serve at the courts, making New York City one of the largest in the jurisdiction. And you can find this information online. And civil court judges are elected to serve a 10-year term. Supreme Court judges served 14 years. And out of those judges, 50 of them are placed in civil court. But when you're elected as a civil court judge, you spend your first few years in criminal court. And some judges go to family court. And some judges are elected to stay, when they're elected, they stay there for a short period of time and eventually go to civil. And then they elevate themselves to Supreme Court. And they also, and even though you may be, even though you may be elected in a particular county, you don't necessarily stay in that county. You can be elected for Brooklyn, for instance, Kings County, which I'm running for Kings County Civil Court Judge. You may be elected in that county. However, you can serve and go to Queens or Staten Island, any of the other counties.
So civil court judges are not appointed, they're elected.
There are some, that's a very good question. There are, you can be appointed and you go through the mayor's judicial screening committee and you can be appointed.
Okay, and this is at the discretion of the mayor, you said?
It's a committee. The mayor has a committee of individuals who process your application, go through your application, look at your experiences and things of that nature.
What should voters be looking for when they vote for someone to be a civil court judge? And this is not the opportunity for you to sell yourself, but
well, I'll always tell myself, but for this particular question, what the voters should be looking for is they should be looking for someone. There are a lot of things, but the things that I like to focus on would be someone with legal experience and legal abilities. And that should be someone who have the intellectual capacity to interpret and apply the established legal principles and processes and procedures. And it should look for someone with trial or any other type of similar type of experience that ensures the knowledge of the law and courtroom experience. You know, sometimes you have individuals who have never ever spent a day in a courtroom and they sit as judges. You'll be surprised. And then you have someone that have a tremendous amount of experience as trial attorneys and they don't even want to practice law. And I've went to law school, people who go through law school and don't even practice law and they do something else. You should also look for someone who has a reputation for excellent character integrity. Because when we are accepted to the bar, that's what we call it, when we're become members of the bar, our applications as attorneys are very scrutinized. They look for a variety of things. And so oftentimes people are disbarred and brought up on grievances when they don't hold that reputation high that they should as attorneys. And attorneys and judges are required to report another attorney, when people may not believe this, report other attorneys when we don't do what we're supposed to do and follow the ethics and canon, rule of canons. The other thing that you should look for is judicial temperament. And that requires, when someone says judicial temperament, what do you mean? You have to be patient. And you know, what does that patient require? You come across so many variable and diversities and different type of people. You have to be able to be patient and listen and have that integrity and have the temperament to listen and be patient. And because people that come in front of a judge are coming oftentimes with a problem. You know, that's why it's an adversarial system. And then you have to look for someone with a record of community involvement. There are people, when I talk over the years, I speak to people about Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror. Someone's always complaining, but you say, well, what do you do? What did you do for the community? So you want to look at someone's community involvement. And you also want to think about the devotion to improvement of the quality of justice. Our judicial system relies on the Constitution. And our Constitution, to me, I like to describe it as a chameleon. I teach, and I tell my students often, it's a revolving thing, and it changes with our society. So it becomes chameleon-like, and it changes. So those are some of the things that that you should look for when you're looking for a judge. Oftentimes, people don't vote for judges, and they go in or they just blindly pick a judge. And if it works for you, fine, but it shouldn't.
Let's get back to the community for a minute. Judges should get involved in community activities, or they should separate themselves from too much community connections and community involvement.
After becoming a judge?
No, judges generally, civil court judges, are they expected to participate and to be involved in the community?
Because we're a continuous part of our community. We should never divert ourselves and divest ourselves from being a part of our community. We're a part of our community. We're always a part of our community. And it's imperative, because how we should always maintain that connection with our community. And again, that was one of the qualities that you should look for. You should look for that quality when you're looking to see whether or not you want to engage that person to continue to represent your community. And people will say the community. Well, what's the community? It's really all over. It's really a part of, because we make up each other, Now,
the Brooklyn Civil Court judge is separate to the Queens Civil Court judge, and their involvement in communities are within their borough. That's correct, or they can be involved in activities outside of their borough, and they handle cases outside of their borough.
When you're placed in a particular civil court in the county, you're handling cases for that particular county when you're sitting in that part. But when it comes from the perspective of what community you get involved in, you can get involved in any community type activities.
Okay. Now you said you teach. I can't see what you have in your certificates behind you, but where do you teach and what do you teach? I
have been teaching for the last 11 years at Malloy College. I teach criminal justice, and I've taught, I teach undergraduate and graduate courses. And prior to that, I was honored to teach at the 2-year college that I graduated from in downtown Brooklyn, New York City Community College. And I graduated from that school in 1983. And I was a legal secretary science major. And after graduating from that, to be able to go back and teach as a paralegal, teach paralegal studies, I was just honored. And then I've taught at some paralegal schools. And after that, I taught at paralegal schools in Long Island, and then landing at Malloy College, where I teach criminal justice. And what I find interesting is that a lot of my students are law enforcement or want to be law enforcement or attorney. And I learned so much from them as they learned from me. And I always handle my classes in the manner which it's no right or wrong answer, because in the law, it's really a law of persuasion. It's about taking the facts and marshaling the facts and sending it out to the jurors in a trial of fact. And that's
what do you say? Go on. What do you say to students who want to be involved in some area of law enforcement, but they're not sure? Mm-hmm. What do you advise them?
When they're not sure, I always, before I start every class, I always do a who am I? And when they tell me what they want to do or they're not sure, I always then do the research myself and help them based on their personalities. And I had one particular student that told me she wanted to be probation officer. And I said to her, what about an FBI agent? Because, there's an age limit on that. And she says, I never thought of that. And there's so many careers that our students don't know about. And once I start feeling them out, and especially in my seminar classes, where we talk about so many things, there's three components. There's three components in our criminal justice system: law enforcement, the courts, and corrections. And it's such a dynamic criminal justice system that there's so many areas that they can fit themselves into, that I allow them to and give them information for them to be able to see where they can fit. So I just enjoy that, and enjoy the criminal justice system, and being a part of it. And I just enjoy the justice system just in of itself. It's always been my passion ever since I was in middle school, where my mother summoned me to learn my textbook in social study when she heard from my teacher that I wasn't doing so great.
There are people who are concerned about the amount of criminal activity that Blacks engage in. What do you say to such persons, especially in the classroom, to discourage them from engaging in that type of activity?
That type of thought, you mean?
Yes.
Research is extremely important. It's not entirely true. What you put into a computer, and the data you put into the computer, is what you get back out of that computer. So if the premise is that, oh, it's only people of color that's committing the crime, is it only people of color that's committing the crime, or it's where the crime is being sought out, or where the law enforcement may be looking for the crime? But because I am in the process of running for judge, I have to be careful in terms of how I answer certain and respond to certain things. But in terms of, from an academic perspective, my students are always taught to read, research, and even from a perspective of journalism, you don't always take what you read at face value. You do your own research. Just as if voting for a judge, you do your research.
Okay, Casilda Roper, who is also running for civil court judge, but we had a conversation with you because of your work in the classroom and your work with young people in particular. Thank you for being our guest on Brooklyn 45.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
We invite those of you who have watched our program to partner with us here at Brooklyn 45. You can do this in several ways. You can suggest topics that you think people would be interested in getting information about. Just go to our website, www.brooklyn45.com, and become a supporter. We are a 501c3 not-for-profit program. And when you support us, our communities benefit as well. And so, on behalf of Brooklyn 45, I'm Sam Taitt.
Brooklyn 45 is a 501c3 not-for-profit, and we welcome your support. Check out our website, brooklyn45.com, and feel free to donate or share it with your friends and family. Have any comments or questions? Send them to our Facebook, facebook.com/Brooklyn45TV. If you have any questions or topics you think we should cover next, shoot me an email over at brooklyn45tv@gmail.com. Thank you again for watching.